Hello, hello, hello! Jason here from Make 'em Laugh Films, and I got the inspiration to do a history of the MELF YouTube channel video. And I fielded some questions from some of you, so I will elaborate, answer the questions that you posed, and let's have a good time with this. Alright, let's talk about the history of MELF. It has been a hell of a journey, and much more to go. The first question is when and how I decided to start YouTube. Since I was a kid, I always wanted to become an actor, to make movies, and some of my best memories from childhood was dressing up in costumes, especially superhero costumes, and just acting out scenes with my siblings. And I never really got that opportunity to legitimately pursue acting or making movies as a kid. Growing up, my siblings and I, we were pushed to do sports like baseball, soccer, football. I did track for 1 year. And while I was good to varying degrees at those, I deep down always wanted to make videos, to act, to play these roles, and didn't really get that chance until college. So I'm gonna share some personal details before I dive into actually engaging in acting. But my freshman year of college, I got into a long distance relationship, and I was still figuring out what I wanted in life at that point. I went to a Christian grade school, a Christian high school. I went to University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and I met my ex-girlfriend online, and we had commonalities, or at least what I thought who I wanted to be at that time. But of course, over the course of that relationship, I learned a lot about what I did not want in life, and unfortunately, I was losing the core of who I was when I was with her. So that relationship ended right around the time, it was actually right after The Dark Knight came out, and I'm going to talk about The Dark Knight quite a bit during this interview because in many ways, different ways, levels, that was the foundation of the YouTube channel. So I was looking forward to The Dark Knight for months, like rewatched the trailer countless times, and then I began seeing parodies of The Dark Knight, and like, holy crap, this is fantastic, so creative, I could definitely see myself doing this. And at the same time, having this relationship, this long distance relationship that was unraveling as I was realizing more and more that this was not the type of relationship I wanted to be in, that I really did not like myself being in that relationship, that I was giving up some of my core values, and honestly felt controlled and in a narrow scope of my ex's view of who I should be as a person. And actually, we were going to see The Dark Knight together, the next trip that I would have taken to see her, but luckily, I went ahead and saw it at the encouragement of my family. And yeah, of course, I was blown away by The Dark Knight. Absolutely loved it. It's still one of the most, if not the most inspirational movie to me. It's very deep at my core, and I really relate to Batman and Commissioner Gordon, especially these days. But with that unraveling relationship, I was like just wanting to discover myself, what I wanted to do in life, and to really just express my creativity. So after I ended it, and when sophomore year of college started, that's when I discovered the Illini Film and Video Club, and I immediately started going to their meetings, and I forget which meeting it was, but I brought the idea to do a Dark Knight parody, and immediately began like asking who wanted to be a part of it. And through Illini Film and Video, I met some of the best friends that I would have and still have many years later. People like Mark, who, as you know, did Batman, still does Batman occasionally. We do link up still, like when I visit Chicago. People like Zach, David, Dan, and like many more people that I would meet at the University of Illinois. But it all started with that Dark Knight parody. And I played the Joker. Heath Ledger, his performance was captivating, and so I used him as a symbol of like freedom, just coming out of that, bad relationship, and the fact that no one could tame him. Like, they tried to put him in a cage midway through the movie, but he planned to get caught. So I was like, you know what? Let's use him as inspiration, and this will be my symbol of, okay, no one can keep me in this narrow scope, this narrow idea of who they want me to be. And just all my life, I wanted to do acting, be creative, and pursue movies. So finally, I had that opportunity. And really, that character was like the embodiment of discovering that and like releasing this creative passion finally, and that I haven't stopped doing since then. So really, me choosing to end that relationship and to get into YouTubing and taking inspiration from not only The Dark Knight, but some of the Dark Knight parodies that were coming out at that time, and just other YouTubers that I'd seen making great comedy videos. Like Chad Vader, for instance, from Blame Society was a big inspiration as well. And Evil Iguana's Dark Knight parody, like that was instrumental in formulating, okay, this is kind of the style that I want to do. Mel Brooks, so Spaceballs in particular, is still one of my favorite movies of all time. I can't tell you how many times I've watched Spaceballs over the years. I have all the quotes memorized, and just his energy and his willingness to be bold, and like, I'm paraphrasing here, I don't know the exact quote, or rather, the idea of the quote. I'm not gonna get it exactly 100%, but if you're gonna go up to the bell, like, make sure you hit it, make sure you ring it. So that really resonated with me, and that's what I took from Spaceballs and some of his other movies too. Of course, Young Frankenstein. Blazing Saddles was not afraid to tackle racism and to be obnoxious. And that like really spoke to me, that boldness, that daringness to just, go for it. And that creative fire, that fearlessness to just do what I wanted to do. And if I had this creative idea throughout the years, like I was going to do it. And luckily I've had the support of my team members who, of course, were recruited for the projects, and that they volunteered as well too, let's be fair. And some of my best memories have come from the videos over the years. And really that's how I started getting into YouTube. And luckily today I still have the support of my family members, my wife, and my son. He comes in, he'll like watch me film and be fascinated by the camera and these costumes. And that's how he's come to know certain characters like Green Goblin, Joker, Batman, who he's named after. So like even right there, that's a testament to just how much the Batman character, the Dark Knight, has made an impact on my life. And really, Batman '89 was another key point. I loved that movie growing up. And like every time watching Batman and Joker on screen, I just found them to be the coolest. So I would always dress up in a Batman costume, the Michael Keaton version, when I was like 3 or 4 and onward. And obviously, not much has changed over the years. It's still one of my favorite things to do, and it's just for the love of it all. My favorite and hardest shoots, so that's going to be very difficult to narrow down because my videos, I feel, are like my children in a way, my creative children, and it's impossible to choose just one favorite. Obviously, the Dark Knight parody will always have a special place in my heart because that was the one that started it all. I'd say the hardest one may have been the Jigsaw 2D video, and it's literally 3 hours and 18 minutes long. So I'd say hard in terms of just the amount of time that went into it, and just having that long-term roadmap, like, because it makes fun of, at that time there were 7 Saw movies, and we poked fun of 6 out of the 7 Saw movies with that big parody. We previously made fun of Saw 2, so that's why that one wasn't made fun of in that long parody. And I was a resident advisor at the time, and I recruited literally all of my colleagues, all of my fellow resident advisors within the hall that I was an RA. And we picked locations around campus to shoot at, to be like Jigsaw's trap rooms and everything, and filming around campus. And we did the same thing for the Dark Knight parody and the Batman Begins parody. Like, we would always film around campus, choose different halls to shoot at, different residence halls as well, in addition to like the lecture halls and stuff. So yeah, we'd always turn eyes when we were on campus, just from wearing these costumes, bringing these outrageous props all around. Trying to think of some other hard shoots. Because like really each shoot has its own challenges, but I actually had to do the same thing today, and I'm about to bring up the willingness to be adaptive, and adaptability is the key to success in any arena. But today I was planning, this is by no means the hardest shoot, it was easy to bring the stuff back in, but I was planning to shoot this video in front of this pond, and there's this park and basketball court in back of our house, but there were people that came by and a family played in the park, so that was no bueno for the audio. It would have just messed with the audio so much and caused way too much work for the editor to pick out different retainable pieces of audio that would work, so I was not going to do that. Generally, those are the kinds of things that would make a project harder, is like challenging audio, or I've done this error multiple times. I forget to turn the mic on. Luckily, I have a directional mic that my wife found that is not contingent on having an on switch, nor are there batteries required for this external mic. Instead, just by plugging it in, it automatically will work with the camera. So I'm thankful to have that, because I have not had to do extra work. I have not had to do overdubs since getting this microphone over here. Or like forgetting pieces of equipment before shoots, or like realizing you forgot the battery at the place that you were charging the battery during your shoot, and then you have to like go back and see if it's even still there, and luckily it had been those times. Trying to think of some other challenging shoots. In terms of like personalities, like 99% of the shoots and like people I've worked with have been very easy. And like for those who like weren't, like different collaborations, like if there was someone who's just a difficult personality, then I just, live and learn that this person is not one that I would shoot with in the future. But I'd still make the most of it and see the creative vision to its fruition. Okay, most important lessons I have learned throughout the years doing YouTube. It's very hard to narrow that down to just a few lessons, because I've grown so much as a result of doing YouTube. So acting skills, first and foremost. Back when I started the channel, I would strictly just do what was in the script, and I didn't have that foundation with improvisation yet. So I developed that from doing project after project over the years, and same with my buddies, my team members, and then like learning the ins and outs of comic book conventions, Comic Cons, because we started doing those in 2012, and that's given like a whole another like playbox of different concepts we can do, whether it be like fan meetups and filming those, or like prank videos. The equipment for sure, definitely learning from mistakes, like overexposure, and then of course I talked about the microphone, getting good audio, white balance. That's another key thing that I learned from editing. I learned a crap ton about editing, because for like the many years I was the channel's editor. And only recently, it was about 3 years ago at this point, I was able to hire editors, and that's been a huge help, because so I'm a healthcare administrator, and that's my full-time career. I'm a health administrator in IT specifically, and having a family and actually, it's a little background on when I got the editors initially. So I made the post that I was seeking editors a day after my wife and I found out that we were expecting. So like, you know, we've been planning to start a family, but right when we got the news, I knew, okay, I need to free up my time. I need to be able to be present. I don't want this to like pull me away from all these key moments that I'll have with my son and being there and, you know, having that true partnership with my wife to raise him and be able to do events and everything with him. So yeah, very quickly I found editors, and that's freed up a lot of my time, and I'm able to like apply the knowledge that I've learned over the years in like giving them feedback, like, you know, this looks great over here, but what if we tried this idea, or maybe we could trim off some of this clip and the timing will like be that much more impactful. It'll boom, be like that right amount of timing to sell this joke, or to just have that dramatic effect. So yeah, really the knowledge is like a snowball, and just different pieces of equipment. And I know this will get into one of the next questions. Like I started out with editing on this iMac that Illini Film and Video had, and then I had a MacBook. Like so in grad school, I kept doing editing on my MacBook Pro. And I had that for a number of years until I spilled coffee on it. Then I got an iMac because I remembered Illini Film and Video's iMac was great. So I knew I wanted to get one of my own. And then video cameras. So we used to film on like actual like, so it was like film tapes, and there'd be a process that we'd need to let it run into this like insertion, and that would need to transfer over to the computer. But as things have evolved, and you know, HD cameras, and now we use a 4K camera. It's a Sony, and I'll look up the exact number here because as my coworkers will say, I absolutely suck balls at remembering exact model numbers, like version numbers. So I don't want to be a liar. So it's the Sony camcorder FDR AX100 is this model here, and I'm very pleased with it. It has 4K capabilities. It also doubles as a high quality camera in terms of like photographs. So I would highly recommend it. And like with collaborating with editors now, and none of us like live in the same city. So so one of our former editors, he lived across state. So he currently lives in St. Petersburg, and Chris, he lives in Canada, in Newfoundland specifically, and then Nathan lives in Chicago. So learning how to use Google Drive, and then just tips for like faster uploads, and then like creating shared folders, and then getting into like a rhythm, like a schedule of like knowing when to expect to receive those videos for review for like the first draft, and then me like knowing exactly what tasks are my responsibilities to make sure that I get the editors the footage in time, and then do my shout outs and voting audio, get that to them in like a good enough time, so that way they can have enough time to insert that into the projects. And then in terms of just project management, and I'll get into how this has benefited my workplace, my work life too. Planning ahead exactly the video concepts that I need to do by a certain date. So that way the editors have that schedule, like enough time to work on those projects. And then I know exactly what dates, they know exactly what date that those videos will go online on the channel. And then knowing how much time I'll have to work on the thumbnails for the videos. And that's a whole nother topic in itself that I'm about to mention, but SEO, like the titles, descriptions, I mentioned the thumbnails already, tags, different hashtags within the video description, end screen cards, in video cards, just different opportunities to like keep people on YouTube, on your channel specifically, links to your online store, and we do have a MELF store, feel free to check it out. We do like t-shirts and stuff. But like all those opportunities to keep building momentum for the channel, and like another thing, the community tab on the YouTube channel where I can post a thumbnail about, and as well as the link to an upcoming video that's premiering within days, putting the subscription link with like every video I can or every post that I can. And it's a direct link where like when they click on it, it'll automatically give the viewer the option to subscribe. And then just learning strategies as YouTube evolved. So knowing what the audience is expecting to see, but at the same time, you don't want to betray what you're passionate about. So like always making sure that the concepts that you're doing is true to your creative vision and that you're still having fun with it. Because if you're not, then you're just going through the motions and then you become like a shell of like who you're supposed to be creatively. And like luckily I have not gotten burned out from doing superhero content, but at the same time, like there are some other things that I'm passionate about that I want to spoof or tribute. So that's why we've done different metal music videos, making fun of some of my favorite bands like System of a Down, Disturbed, Metallica. We have a Rob Zombie project in the works. I'm sure I'll finish this one Rammstein project that I have. It's like in draft stage, but I'm sure that'll come to fruition at some point. And then horror movies. So I grew up loving scary movies, different slasher films, and I've been experimenting, diving into those recently. And it's like a whole nother treasure chest of different concepts that you can use. It's fun. It's like, seeing what sticks, what resonates with the audience. And you can build a new audience by exploring these new different concepts that you just find resonates with you, and it just uncovers like, a different piece of you from the past that you just have so much fun with exploring. Some other lessons, there's so much, it's hard to narrow it down. Also like just different leadership skills that I've learned over the years, just from managing the channel and coordinating events and just being that go-to for the team and just being there for them with like life events, with just making sure that the events are fun, taking care of them. So like the ad revenue that is generated from the videos goes right back into the channel, like the editing costs, for instance, new equipment, new costumes, but also just making sure that I show my appreciation for the team members, whether it's like getting them costumes through like sponsorships with different cosplay makers or stores out there, getting them like passes for events. We did booths a lot in the past. Lately I've just preferred doing press badges with the team members because it's a little adjustment coming back from the pandemic, and I've just been wanting to enjoy walking around, getting the footage with my team members, and honestly partying a little bit too without having to be confined to the space of a booth for like the entire day. It just gives more flexibility at this point. Plus, like I was honestly felt like the doing like the booths was like part egotistical in a way, I'll admit. So just getting to that point where like it doesn't matter, where you can just have fun and just enjoy the vibes of the convention, just joke around with your friends, making new content, doing flash mobs or meetups or prank videos. Like that's like the root of what it's all about. And just also like learning how to work with different people, different personalities. So like my team members, like we're each very unique, each have very unique personalities, but like seeing how they all fit in together, their strengths, and just the vibe that they add to the productions, like that's priceless. And it's beautiful when all that energy comes together. And that's why like, you see people that have been recurring like factors within the videos year after year. It's just that vibe is right. Like, that when you get together, it's going to be laughs, it's going to be a good time, and that shows through within the videos. And just like working through like technology, like collaborating remotely with some of the key players, like the fact that distance isn't like a barrier, but rather you just still make it work with the technologies at hand and just use green screen to make it seem like we are filming in the same place, just because these concepts are inspirational to us, or that they're just so funny that how can we not do them? Like it speaks volumes. And people from the founding days, I like to call them the founding fathers of MELF, from the University of Illinois days, where you could pick up like right where you left off, and like the energy is just infectious. So like the times I visited Chicago for C2E2, catching up with them, doing like a convention, or just hanging out with them after hours, like you're immediately brought back to those old days. And I don't feel that the glory days have ended. I just feel it's an evolution of them. It's, you know, a more enhanced version as it snowballs, because you've learned so much about life, about creativity. Of course, you think like, what can we have done differently? Like going back to some of those earlier projects, but really you can't have regrets, because each project is a learning experience. Like sure, you're gonna learn more technical skills. You might do things more creatively, kind of like a painter would use different colors, like, or have like a different motif nowadays based on different life experiences or, you know, current perspectives. But like those earlier works, like, and those dynamics from like way back when and all throughout the years, like they become part of who you are, and then in a way, actually a big way, part of what the channel is all about. How the channel changed when I became a parent. So that's a very good one. I touched on getting editors, right? When my wife and I found out that we were expecting, I literally made the post a day later. But realizing that everything would change and making sure that I had more time freed up. And so March 2020, as you all know, the world changed forever. That's when the pandemic hit. And of course, not only was I fearing like the future of the channel and like how that would be limiting shoots, but first and foremost, like how is that going to impact my family? And I'm about to become a father within months. And you know, the stresses, the anxieties that my wife was having about like giving birth, bringing life into this world in the midst of all this chaos, of this uncertainty. So all that just weighing on my mind, and the videos became like a way to continue unwinding, to relieve some of that stress. And during the lockdowns, not being able to socialize with friends, and I didn't get together with the team members for quite some time because I just didn't want to risk it. My wife didn't want to risk it either. So just doing what we felt was best and just isolating, really, for the most part, with the exception of some family members, just keeping to our own to make sure that our little guy was as safe as possible. So then I pivoted, and again, adaptability is the key to success in this world. And I did almost entirely green screen or blue screen videos for quite some time. Or if it was like an on-set video, I would just film it around the house here, or maybe like occasionally like film it outdoors. And I didn't do conventions for quite some time, just in the interest of not catching COVID. I mean, eventually I did catch COVID from MegaCon of this year. And like, ironically, like I was wearing a mask like 95% of the time, with the exception of like J. Jonah Jameson, because I mean, you can't hide that face nor that mustache. And yeah, like that's a story in itself. I'm just laughing, just recollecting that week. And so in my recovery, and I felt fine. And I did have to go to Boston for like a work event, a work summit, after MegaCon, tested right when I got back from Boston. It was more likely from MegaCon due to the vast number of people. And like by like the day after I got back from Boston, I was already feeling like almost 100%, but still wanted to isolate. I pulled a Jack Sparrow. I just drank rum like the entire rest of my isolation, kind of like he was secluded on that island. But yeah, I'm going off on a tangent now, but how the channel has changed as a result of being a parent. So in the interest of like freeing up more time, so I've still done conventions as like things have gotten safer, of course, and things have gotten more normal again. But like I'm planning to do slightly fewer conventions just because I want to be more present, and of course the finances are a factor too, because daycare ain't cheap. And being present, and also coming to realize that the need to slow down in terms of the frequency of videos. So for a time I was doing 3 videos a week, and then switched to doing 2 videos a week. And then recently, like around end of August, early September, I realized that I needed to slow down just how many videos I was doing each week. And a big part of this was just burnout from my healthcare career, but also there was some factor in just keeping my wheels spinning from just being so dedicated to doing 2 videos a week. So I made the decision to slow down, start doing 1 video a week starting in October of this year. And there was a financial factor too, because not gonna lie, the regular form videos started getting less viewership. And I think part of that has to do with changing viewership, like people watching other modes of productions like TikTok. There are more streaming services now, more options, so clearly more competition. And I think YouTube's algorithm as well, because in the interest of wanting to compete with TikTok, they've prioritized more and more YouTube shorts. So like I'll post a short and it could have some of the same exact content as one of the regular form videos, but like those will take off. So I've been making like a bigger push to do shorts, and I make it a point to post at least 1 YouTube short each day. And that's a great way to get exposure to new audience members that otherwise may not have stumbled on the content, and a good way to get people to click on the subscribe button, but also explore the channel and some of these related concepts, whether it be like superhero content, or if it's like a more experimental short, like from some like new niche that we're trying to dive into. Like we've tried to do Star Wars videos at a couple different points, Mortal Kombat videos. We're diving into horror content at this time. Same with metal videos. So the shorts, that's a great way to test the waters and let people know like, hey, like we are throwing, like we're making this new kind of play to like reference football here, let's see how many yards we get on this play, and hopefully we don't have to punt it to the other team if it fails. So yeah, just being willing to take those risks and growing at the same time. Otherwise like you're stagnant. And yes, I'm trying to think of some other things like being a parent. So of course I featured the little guy in a few videos here and there. So like I just talked about growing, so trying out new concepts. And it like being a parent, it definitely gives you a new perspective on life. It gives it more fulfillment, like more energy. So, and it makes you more selfless. So I found myself thinking increasingly more often as a result of being a parent and my outlook on life having changed. Like, how can I be more selfless for the people who contribute to the YouTube channel? And just thinking of what else I can do for them, and also just being as good of a friend that I can be and being supportive of what they have going on in their lives. If they need my perspective or just me to listen to them, vent about whatever is going on, and just like if they need like a costume or something, or just taking care of any hotel, Airbnb, apartment, rental expenses as part of the trips, I'm happy to do it for them as a way of showing gratitude. And it's become, just how can I care for them instead of like how I was before. I'll get like personal with this. There were like aspects, especially like 2016 and 2017, where there were some team members that I had, and like there will be a part of me that will always care for them, but just seeing like energy changes and like their loyalties changing, and then just different falling outs, because there was a time where we had a beef with some local comic book shops and this local convention, And just seeing some of the changing like loyalties, dynamics at the time, and like I don't at all regret like the choices that I made and my friends who I did support at that time, because that's what I believed in, and it led me to where I am today. And like despite all the stresses at that time, all the hardships, like it led me to who I am today. And it led like the channel to growing. But like as a result of some of, my self-doubts during that time, so I took like a Slytherin kind of approach with the ambition, like, okay, well, if I perceive that there are some people out there who don't believe in the channel, you know what? I'm gonna just try even harder to just ensure that this channel is more successful and grows at an even faster rate, trying these new concepts. Let's get these meetups going, get the support of as many people as possible. And like, of course, I did not let go of like my heart, my creativity during that time. But there was that like, some of that competitive edge during that time, and just reflecting back on it, especially like after life's experiences, and like realizing like that those gaps are like fulfilled by other areas with my family, people that I love, being a parent, that really having like more subscribers, like more views, like it's not going to make you happier. And in so many ways, like I feel like the same exact way that I did when I first started the channel and had no views nor any subscribers. Like at the end of the day, it's like, are you happy doing this? And if not, then like why continue doing it? And like luckily I still have the passion for it, and like especially like slowing down, like doing one video a week again, like that's opened my eyes, like holy crap, like I could do so many new things that like I didn't consider before. And this is like a whole new niche that I could reach in terms of audienceship. And yeah, I am still happy doing this, to be able to express myself creativity in many different ways, as a director, as a writer, and like occasionally I'll jump in and do an edit myself if like one of the editors has like a trip or takes like a little vacation. And like I love writing music, and I had a band back in college. My buddies and I had a Rammstein cover band, and back in high school I had this dream, and in college as well too, like what if I could have a band and make this successful, be like a successful metal band like Rammstein, like the big acts like Metallica, Disturbed, System of a Down, Slipknot, these big groups that I still look up to and I'm still jazzed about these days. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But in a way, like I can still release the passion and creativity for like songwriting through different parodies, making music still. And even if like the music doesn't make it into certain videos, like I'll still use GarageBand to experiment with this creative idea, play around with guitars, keyboards, like drum sounds, bass guitar, try out different like vocal styles, paying tribute to different singers that I like in a way, doing karaoke with some of the friends from the channel and some of my family members. Like I'm about to go on a cruise, a family cruise for my mom's wedding in like a little over a week, and I fully intend to do karaoke after a few drinks. So I mean, like the channel, it's such a great way to express that, and like it still is the ultimate stress reliever, just having good times with friends, knowing that right vibe is there, that I can express myself, just know that the good times await. And it's a great stress reliever for work too, because like healthcare administration, it's always changing, but you get pulled in so many different directions, like especially with my role, and also just like my strengths and my personality. Like I'm a perfectionist. I've learned a lot about myself like the past few months even. And like I saw a psychologist for a bit when I was going through my burnout, and I learned that one of my coping mechanisms and my personality style growing up was the hero role of the family, like wanting to achieve so much, and like maybe then I'll like feel all that love, like, you know, I've accomplished it all. And that got me to reflect, you know what, I have accomplished it all, but why am I feeling burned out and unfulfilled still? But then realizing that I can take the steps and be, you know, less than perfect. It's a matter of just being good enough in your own eyes and being happy with yourself. Like not caring as much about like what people think about the channel. Like if there's a negative comment, oh my God, like it used to like get me unglued back in the day receiving those kinds of comments. And like obviously like it would still like sting a little because it's like your baby. You've put time and energy into making this project and releasing it. Like it's like show and tell. Like you're so like passionate about showing this to your classmates, for instance, like the show and tell. But like I'll care less now because it's much less about what other people think about the projects and like more like this is legit what makes me laugh, what makes my buddies laugh, like what I want to do, and like take it or leave it. Because like at the end of the day, like I'm still gonna keep doing this. Like no one's gonna stop me from doing this. I've had some like hardships, like dramatic like events throughout like the course of the channel, and like my wife at one point like reassured me and saying like, look, like are you like wanting to quit because of this hardship, or is this like what you truly want to do? And that was eye-opening because like no, like I'm not gonna like stop doing this over some naysayer or someone who's just trying to use the channel in a way. And unfortunately, I've had to deal with some events like that, and also at some point had to build boundaries and maintain those boundaries, like dealing with a stalker at one point. And I will not ever regret maintaining boundaries because my inner peace comes first, and I care about the peace of my team members. I don't want like anyone to like impact them negatively. Like first and foremost, it's about maintaining that fun, creative environment and good mental health. So like the people that you see that are part of this, like, you know, they're right. They're the right people. Favorite costume ever? Oh man, this is another hard one because I've had a lot of favorites. Let me answer this in terms of like favorites for like different sides of me, because I like to put myself into the different characters that I do, and in some ways like they reflect who I am. So I mentioned earlier in this interview that Heath Ledger's Joker was like my symbol of freedom in a way, and he was my first character that I did for the channel when we did the Dark Knight parody. But like his craziness, his antics, that was like me like finding out who I was after that breakup my sophomore year in college. And like in a way a statement that I can't be caged, that no longer am I gonna fit like someone's narrow perception of who I should be. And like also like a statement that this is what I should have been doing all these years, like instead of doing sports throughout grade school, throughout high school. And really just like a bold statement, and using this crazy but strategic, calculated character. Like I've always considered myself to be calculated, like a long-term thinker. I'm a planner, even though like, and at the same time, like to learn how to improvise and be in the moment more. So like I see that Joker as both of those traits. Like he's very calculated and he plans, even though he says he's not a guy with a plan, that he just does things. He's like a walking contradiction. But like that opened my eyes and said, you know what, I can be that in like different scenarios, like moving forward, and just like get out of my head about what people think more and more. And like I've struggled with that over the years, like I'll admit. So that wasn't like the be all and end all. And like I still like have those moments of self-doubt where I'm like a people pleaser, but I have more tools to better cope with that. And yeah, for like years, like, and I mean, I still love doing Joker from time to time, but he really was like my symbol of like freedom and like the foundation of it all in a way. Also Batman. So Batman, and I do like many different versions of Batman, whether it be like Ben Affleck, the Christian Bale Dark Knight suit, the comic book version, more like an animated series style, and rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. Oh man. So Kevin Conroy was a huge inspiration growing up from just watching Batman the animated series, and in many ways is the definitive Batman. And like, I'm never gonna come close to touching his performance, but like, if I could at least tribute him to an extent, at least I'll make some people happy. But really, it's just me channeling those memories that I have of him from watching Batman the animated series as a kid, and all throughout playing like the Arkham video games and revisiting like those cartoons later in life. But Batman to me, so one of my favorite movies, my top favorite movies as a kid was Batman '89. And I can't tell you how many times I watched that movie. And Batman Returns is like right behind it too. I watched that movie countless times. But seeing Batman, his duality about, how he has like his different sides, like to some he could be like the playboy, fun-loving, philanthropist. And then other times, he has that darker side, but he's incorruptible, he's determined, he does that detective work, and he could take on so many different challenges at once. And I know that I'm like diverging from only talking about the Keaton Batman, but like broadening it to just the various different iterations of Batman as a whole. Like, those are all qualities I love. And like in my work life, so as a healthcare administrator in IT, and my title is Senior Program Manager, I have to always be cognizant of how different processes and different configurations, and I primarily work with our electronic medical record system, but seeing like how changes can impact different areas, many different areas, and really just being there to respond to so many different challenges at once. It's kind of like that Ra's al Ghul quote where he wants, like, as a result of his teaching, like Batman will be able to fight off like hundreds of men at once. And that's like the imagery I get when things are hitting the fan at work. Like, I feel like Batman right now, handling all these different challenges, and having that confidence, even though it's overwhelming as hell many of the days, but just knowing like, okay, it's okay, I'm gonna get through this. Like, even though like I'm trying to get away from being seen as like a hero, because that's like my hero role that I grew up with, but being okay just being me, and just being okay with myself that there are like issues, and like that I can only do what I can at the time. And that's how I'm coming to see YouTube more and more, with like, it's okay like not to be at 1 million subscribers at this point, at this juncture, even though that is one of my goals. And just knowing like, hey, the subscribers will continue to come, and just being appreciative of how far that the channel has come, and just knowing how much I've grown, and just the talents that I've discovered as a result of the channel. And really, that kind of relates to Batman, because he's multi-talented as well. Another character that I love doing is Tony Stark, Iron Man. And he started resonating with me like right around when Civil War, actually no, it was Age of Ultron. Yeah, more so Age of Ultron. And then I solidified that around the time Civil War came out, and I started cosplaying him more and more. So I would say like, yeah, his fun-loving side, and especially because I'm in IT, so being good with technology and just figuring that stuff out. And then him working on just multiple projects at once. But there is a danger to that, that risk of just immersing yourself within as much work as possible to distract yourself. I do relate to that. Also, a bit of the ego. So I've gotten a lot better about that throughout the years. But like back then, and like I told you about how when like certain dynamics were changing, and like people were choosing different paths with, some of the individuals that I was associated with, like in those years, having that ego, like, okay, well, let's put on like a Stark Expo and show everybody how big this channel is going to get, and I like actually hit those milestones. But then ultimately at the end of the day, like becoming the family man, like how Tony Stark became, and then putting other people before himself, and like even making those sacrifices, like the sacrifice play that Cap said that Tony would never be able to make, but then Tony proved him wrong by making it. Like that's who I am today. I put other people and their needs first so much, and I need to actually like remember to take care of myself like a lot of the time, and actually catch some rest and slow down. And that's just ways that Tony Stark resonates with me. Spider-Man, yeah, like I'll cosplay Spider-Man. And he's one of the favorite characters on the channel, so he'll always be a staple in videos. And yeah, like Peter's a nerd. I've always been a nerd, and Spider-Man, like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie was such a huge impact on me. And at the end of grade school, like I was in 7th grade, and like back then I did like pre-MELF stuff. So my buddies from grade school and we made a Spider-Man parody on my parents' old camera, and that recorded directly onto a VHS tape. So talk about low budget, and like I knew nothing about white balance back then, so like a quarter of the parody, the white balance is off, it's overexposed. I loved back then, especially back then, playing the Green Goblin. Always loved Willem Dafoe's iteration of the character, and he's still one of the staples of the channel, one of the characters that I'm still passionate about doing. And yeah, so Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, so his Norman Osborn is very professional, he's very stern, and that's sometimes how I have to be with certain partners of my workplace when issues present themselves. I'm trying to keep it as PC as possible. But then also Norman Osborn has his crazy side, you know, that darkness in him, and you know, his like battles, his demons. I talked about like the stressors that I had, like I go through like periods of depression, anxiety, and battle with these internal thoughts, these self-doubts. And in some ways, you know, the Green Goblin deals with his demons, obviously not in the most productive of ways at times, but it's fun to spoof his mannerisms, his laugh, like him being I consider him the arch nemesis of Spider-Man. I know that Venom is also up there in terms of like villainry, and some would consider him to be the arch enemy of Spider-Man, but I think like Green Goblin is his arch enemy with how much damage he's done to his personal life in different iterations of the character, like going after Gwen Stacy, taking her away from Peter, and then now taking away Aunt May from Tom Holland's Peter Parker in Spider-Man No Way Home, which another movie I loved. Yeah, so those, I would say, are some of the different cosplay characters that I love doing, and just the reasons behind them and the personal connections that I have to those characters. So I hope that's enlightening for you. Favorite video ever. So I cannot choose just one video. Again, all the videos are like my children in a way. I could tell you highlights from each and every one of the videos, like even videos that didn't do well, like I still love them. Like so I'm not saying this is a favorite video of mine, I'm just saying this is an example of one that didn't do as well as I hoped in terms of viewership, but one that's very dear to me because of how damn witty it was, and how it like was like one at the time, like the pinnacle of like the humor of the channel, because it like really broke the fourth wall many different ways. It made fun of the production drama. I'm just gonna name the picture. We made fun of Justice League, Joss Whedon's Justice League at the time, and it was just so damn on the nose with how we poked fun at the productions, at some of the actors. And then that parody actually brought together different team members, and actually was the first parody that one of my team members, Wonder Woman, Dina, was a part of. And actually another member of that cast was Larry, and they're dating now. But that didn't happen like immediately. It happened actually a MegaCon after the fact that they recognized their potential. But it's just neat seeing like the first meetings of different people were the parodies. And yeah, that was one of the last productions we did at Viera Comics, where like some of my favorite videos, I mean, like all of them are my favorite videos, but like during that time frame's favorite videos were filmed at Viera Comics. And then like we went on to film like quite a few productions at the Kingdom of Comics, and just fond memories like shooting videos on the rooftop there. And like in the back there, we even set like different props on fire. We had pyro for different music videos. We had like Spider-Verse metal rocking out in that comic book shop, and then just enjoying drinks because there is a bar in that comic book shop. I mean, I'll just keep going with talking about different settings that some like really awesome videos are filmed, like different conventions like MegaCon. Also Wizard World Chicago, like while I was filming around there, I actually met Sean Ward, who's one of my good friends, and I consider him to be a mentor of mine in many different ways, and learned so many things about YouTube, about just productions in general. I met Chris, another great friend of mine, and you see him like in MELF videos like pretty frequently, and he's one of the channel's editors now. Doing local events like around Florida, like Holiday Matsuri with good friends like Glenn, Dan, Amber, and just knowing that every time we link up, it's going to be a hilarious time, laughter. Traveling to Dragon Con with some of them, doing New York Comic Con with Sean and others. San Diego Comic Con, I got to do that with Napper, a member of Sean's team. Man, I'm just reflecting on all these awesome memories here. And then like shooting videos with my family, like going on a camping trip but bringing the camera with and a couple of costumes, and then getting my relatives involved to like do the camera, or even like acting in the roles too. So yeah, it's like a whole, like everybody and all the different settings just bring different flavors to the cast, the productions. And then just reflecting back on the University of Illinois days, just having to get creative with finding different places, buildings to film that were just sheerly available at that point. Yeah, I'm grateful for each and every one of those times, and like all the people who have been a part of the productions since the channel's inception all those years ago. And it continues to be a blast, and just talking about it, it's just energizing, and I just look forward to linking up with friends at Holiday Matsuri a week before Christmas, and it's going to be a hell of a time. Okay, Blue Sky video. If budget was not a limitation, was not a factor. So this is actually an original idea for a movie, and it's still funny because the root of the channel is comedy, but it's also a horror production. And I've had this idea since like 2013. So imagine like a team of like classic horror characters, but they're original horror characters. But of course, they're nods to like the classic slashers or horror icons. You got like the silent killer, you have one with powers. You have like a mastermind that creates traps and stuff. You have this lunatic, but they get together once a year to have this like competition where they pretty much coerce the victims into this one location. And it's kind of like a reverse Hunger Games in a way, where they compete for who can get like the most kills. And they're like different brackets of points for like the kills that they would get. Like, I have to come up with the point system still, but like it'd be weighted points for like, I don't know, interrupting premarital sex and like pretty much like walking in on them in their tent while they're doing the act, or like doing a creative kind of like kill scene, like obviously not invading a nightmare, because that'd be like too directly Freddy Krueger, but something along the lines of using powers like that would be like another weighted point. And then just having it be for like the most vain of reasons, like, I don't know, winner gets like free drinks on the others for an entire year until the next game, so to say. I guess it's kind of like the Purge in a way too, and the fact that like it's an annual event. And then as I've been thinking more and more on it, really each of the players could really have their own franchise, and it would give like a nod to the respective franchise that it's like paying tribute to, but in this original way that has like a funny vibe to it. Like, kind of like taking influence from the MCU and also The Boys, where it'll just be really messed up, really deranged characters with these personality flaws, like The Boys, directly making fun of the Seven, or taking inspiration from the Seven would be more accurate. But then the MCU influence in that, it would be like the puzzle pieces coming together, like it would comprise of these different individual personalities, these different individual movies congregating for this like big annual event. It's funny to me, and like I have not stopped thinking about it throughout the years. So I may need to like get a budget together at some point. But first I should probably actually write this thing, because from a project management perspective, that would make more sense to actually have something to pitch. So solidifying that, and then of course my buddies here in town would get like first dibs. And like one of the people I have in mind is to have my friend Bob, who is actually a state trooper. He's a state trooper like in real life, but for him to be a recurring character across these different movies, playing a cop, and just him being like sick of like all the drama and all this shit from like these crazy like monsters, these horror icons, I think that'd be hilarious. Just him being so disheveled from all of the antics. I know he'd think it'd be funny. I haven't talked to him about it yet. Maybe this video will be the first that he hears about it. We shall see. Concepts that didn't work. All right, so that's kind of hard because I'm stubborn, so I make most of the concepts work. Maybe concepts that didn't work would be ones that I just haven't gotten around to doing yet, because maybe they're just implausible at the time. One that comes to mind right now, and it's a concept that really would work if we just had the time and the energy to do it, but I just don't think it would get as much traction. So I know, like I said earlier, that what matters is like the heart that you would put into it, but like I think that's the issue with why I haven't done this one, and it's the Dark Knight Returns parody. And like I really was inspired, and like Chris had a big hand in writing this too, was the Dark Knight Returns parody. But it's just so massive, and just with like everything like going on in life, like I just find it so daunting to even attempt to like go through with filming it. And I get like flashbacks to filming the Saw movie, because this script is that big, and I just know that it would take a huge chunk of time like away from just life in general, like my family, and also just other YouTube projects, when like in my heart I know that like we could do like many more projects that we're all like passionate about, instead of putting all our eggs in this one basket. And like if I do have like that inspiration at the core to revisit the Dark Knight Returns parody, like absolutely, because it is a fantastic script. It's funny as hell. But I don't know, maybe just the time isn't right now. So I would say that like it's just too big, and that's ironically, or maybe more fittingly, it's a line from the Dark Knight Returns. Like, he's too big. The commissioner like makes a point not to go after Batman with the cops, because yeah, he has an idea is just too big at this time. Favorite blooper, oh my god, there are so many bloopers from across all the years, and much like choosing a favorite video, I don't think I could choose just one. If I was to tell you the first one that came to mind, is from filming the System of a Down parody Sodomize. So I did Serge Tankian and Darren for that one, and my brother did Shavo Odatajan and John Dolmayan. And when I was doing Serge Tankian, I was just so like inspired just from making fun of Serge and like his antics and expressions and his movements that I just lost it. I made myself laugh just doing his dance, like the, like at car dealerships, you see like those like flapping, like inflatable, like, you know what I'm talking about. I forget the term right now. But if you've seen Family Guy, you know like the exact cutaway that I'm referencing right here.
Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man.
But yeah, just dancing as Serge, it just made me so happy, and I just couldn't keep it together. Plus, I was just overjoyed that I actually looked like Serge Tankian with the beard on. So I did not expect that I would look like a quasi doppelganger. I thought it wasn't going to work, honestly. So I was just in a great mood. Okay, so the planning of big videos, and then how I've transitioned into doing new styles over the years. So those who have been with the channel since its inception know that our earliest parodies were pretty massive. The Dark Knight was just under an hour long, and the first Jigsaw parody was like, I don't know, probably like a half hour. Yeah, a little more than a half hour long, if I had to say. Comments if I'm wrong about that, though. Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Falls, aka The Dark Knight Rises spoof, were also pretty long. And then I talked about Jigsaw 2D, which was like 3 hours and 18 minutes. So they're pretty massive. And as such, they took a long time to film and then a long time to edit. And I emphasize the editing process because editing does take longer than filming. So yeah, those I spent so many hours like sequencing them, doing the effects, fine-tuning the audio, doing like the leveling and everything. And yeah, I learned a lot, but it's exhausting. So then just learning more about YouTube and just how like the growth on YouTube is all about frequency, in addition to like meeting the algorithm and keeping people engaged on YouTube via your channel as long as possible. So then I knew, okay, let's dive into shorter videos because I could release those more frequently than these longer productions. And then like I could try out like more concepts too. So that's like when I moved to Florida and then like finished the Saw parody finally and also got the Dark Knight Rises parody online. Like that's when I started doing shorter videos, like shorter skits, and then I started doing conventions more often. Also started doing events as well as videos at the comic book shops that I told you about, Viera Comics and Kingdom of Comics, and then just doing some skits around the house as well. I transitioned to doing a lot of green screen videos during the pandemic. Green screen, blue screen, sorry, just wanted to correct myself there. Some videos around the house still during that time, and then as the pandemic has subsided, getting back out, doing more videos around different conventions. I also wanted to bring up music videos, so so I'm gonna have a lot of fun talking about these here. So, Chris, who's actually editing this video, so he and I started doing these Joker metal music videos at conventions, and also we incorporate some other backgrounds into those too. And that has been an outstanding outlet to like create these original songs while at the same time paying tribute to Joker in various forms of media, like mostly the movies, but some comic book references as well, and doing different looks of the Joker and just incorporating music styles that we enjoy. Like there's been heavy Rammstein influences with those songs and some System of a Down as well, especially with Joker Metal Volume 3. And just like filming us rocking around conventions and like holding phones or like speakers so we could hear it. But like other people don't always like hear the music as loudly, so they just think that we're rocking out to the beats of like our own drums or something. So that was always amusing to me. I'm just laughing, just reminiscing about like rocking out on the escalators and stuff right now. And then like doing green screen Joker metal videos, or green screen, blue screen Joker metal music videos like during the pandemic. And like I said earlier, like having that music outlet is fantastic because I get to like continue living out that dream of being a musician in my own way. And then Chris is also extremely musically talented too. So like, you know, his vocals, his ideas, like how to further improve the songs, adding samples here, like it's like very natural working together. And then doing band parodies like Metallica, System of a Down, Disturbed. We made fun of Disturbed. We're about to spoof Rob Zombie. I just did like the first draft of the instrumentals for Rob Zombie Christmas songs. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun making fun of what you enjoy. And it's like a whole new other outlet. So that like gives more insight into like transitioning to like different styles of videos and like really the reasoning why, and just, you know, how it relates to like the passion, like what we're interested in doing, and then also just where we happen to be. Just make sure I got a back itch right now, just trying to get it. Yeah, just making the most of the settings that we're at and being adaptable, just having fun and really letting the setting dictate the style of the video and being loose about it sometimes. Of course, there are other times I'll go in with like a full script, or at least like points where we could improvise on, but like other times it's just completely improvised, like some prank videos we do at Comic-Cons. Yeah, we just make shit up on the fly. Or like we'll bring like a blow-up doll, like dressed in a cop that's wearing like a SpiderMan suit, and just like beat the shit out of it and just see what happens. And, you know, luckily people are amused by it and no one has kicked us out of any place yet. And I actually have like a more legit dummy now that I got from Spirit Halloween, that I've a couple prank videos planned for Holiday Matsuri, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, we've been getting more into prank videos recently too. Mainly because I had a phase earlier this year where I watched a lot of Jackass and also like Impractical Jokers. So, you know, that's also like that goes with the point. Like you take inspiration from what you're into, and you take like that influence from all sorts of venues, like favorite artists, the movies that either are like trending now, which of course is better for the algorithm, but like you gotta be passionate about it to actually put the work into it. Otherwise you're gonna be like, fuck the Spider-Man suit, like it's uncomfortable, I can't see. But like at the end of the day, you're gonna like want to work through it because you're like, okay, I believe in this concept, much like, you know, I believe in Harvey Dent. And that brings me to The Dark Knight, because I know it's not trending anymore, but like I'm planning to revisit The Dark Knight again at Howmat with this one prank video, and I probably will revisit The Dark Knight for as long as this channel goes, because like it's the foundation of it and it's something that's still very dear to my heart. So it's going nowhere. Okay, bad and weird experiences I have lived through. So I'm gonna perceive that was asked with regard to the YouTube channel, so I'll answer that as such. So I talked earlier about having to set boundaries with people that just don't have the right vibe, and more often than not, it's with their behavior and how that impacts either me or the people that I'm working with. And if there's a bad vibe, if someone's just not a good fit, like I'm gonna put up those boundaries, or like I'll just, you know, not welcome them to be part of it moving forward. Like if they've disrespected a team member or myself. And I don't at all regret setting boundaries with those individuals, because at the end of the day, it's about one's peace first and foremost. Some other kind of situation was like a person trying to use the channel for their own benefit and to try to even get more out of it. and really also tried to extort the channel. So yeah, I had to shut that down, and like luckily with my background, my professional background, like I'm very good at doing detective work, and like got screenshots and like evidence like showing that this that individual was actually committing fraud with regard to like the method that they're trying to like demand those things. And then you have the support of people who have seen how it actually played out, and that will be supportive of you and back you. And that also goes back to like the boundaries as well too, because like I had a stalker make a post about me, and it had things that were inaccurate, and I chose not to respond to it because at the end of the day, it's not worth my fucking time. I have much better things to do, and my inner peace comes first. And that week that it was made, like it was Dragon Con coming up, and I knew that if I had responded, it would most likely lead to some other, other energies being dedicated to that situation, when really the most powerful thing that one can do is walk away, just not respond. And that leaves the person wondering like, wow, like this person I'm trying to affect might just be untouchable. So yeah, I was able to focus on Dragon Con, have a good time with the buddies, and like in the grand scheme of things, like people who try to get your attention, or like people who try to manipulate and like use you, or like take advantage of your kindness, or just like looking at your successes and just trying to like drag you down in a way. Like it's important to like recognize when that's happening, and then just set up those barriers, those boundaries, because maintaining like what you've accomplished, and more importantly like your own inner peace, like that's the priority. Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, like those not so quality individuals, they don't matter. How cosplaying has helped me grow as a person. So I've definitely gotten a lot better at improvisation throughout the years from doing these different cosplay characters. I've become I don't know what you guys think, but I consider myself to be a pretty decent actor, a pretty decent performer. I've gotten a lot better at public speaking, and it's actually had a positive effect on my professional skills. Just from everything that I've learned from YouTubing, from cosplaying all these years, I've been able to transfer those skills over to my professional realm and become an effective senior program manager. And I'm able to tackle quite a few different projects at once, and then also like be adaptive to like some different like personalities and professional styles as a result of like doing different characters. And it's like helped me to realize what my own strengths are and my own weaknesses, like personally, also like professionally and creatively, and just having a deeper awareness of like all of those traits. It allows me to like reflect on how I can better navigate scenarios, regardless if it's on the creative side or professional side, and have that self-awareness, like to know the best path to proceed. And then the characters that I've cosplayed, they're usually ones that reflect a personal strength or weakness, or sometimes both of mine, that I like to hone in on and also spoof to a degree. So it gets me more comfortable just being looser, not taking things so seriously, getting out of my own head, and just being more comfortable being expressive and being me in a way. And like I have a confidence just being out of cosplay and being myself now that I haven't had in I don't know how long that I can remember. Because there are times where I felt most alive doing certain characters, but like now I can combine all of that and just be me, my authentic self. And I really appreciate the people who value just me flaws and all. And I appreciate everyone for supporting the YouTube channel for however long that they have, and just supporting me as a person as I continue to grow. And I just look forward to more fun times and sharing all those adventures with each and every supporter on the channel. So I think that's a great spot to end this interview, and thank you all so much for your time. I'll catch you soon. So a quick test here. Audio check, 1, 2, very good. FYI, so I clearly changed the setting that I was gonna film. I originally was gonna film in front of that pond, but one, there were a couple of kids playing baseball out in back of their house. That audio I was good with, but then a family came to the park that was like right there, and they went on the swing, and yeah, that was not going to happen. So, sorry, I had a burp there. And let's see, I'm just gonna check to make sure it's still recording over here. Very good. So if, sorry, I had a burp again. Now, it is time for you, the audience, to comment and vote. What video should we do? Do you want to see Batman interrogates Joker prank at Comic-Con? Green Goblin beats up SpiderMan prank at Comic-Con? A Nightmare on Elm Street parody? Or Friday the 13th parody? Comment and cast your vote. Just expressing yourself? Subscribe for more comedy videos. Thank you so much for watching MELF Interview, the history of the channel. Now it's time for shoutouts. Marcus Ortwine, October K, and Duck and Mikey Fan 49. Thank you so much for your support. Subscribe to Make 'em Laugh Films. Help us break 1 million subscribers. Please enable push notifications. Comment your favorite parts from this interview, and you'll be eligible to receive a shout out in one of the next videos.